What's up? What's up? It's JUJUAN Buford broadcasting from Detroit, Michigan. And what I want to talk about today is a conversation I recently had with a young entrepreneur that I recently started working with and having a really an indirect coaching relationship with as a result of the project, the business solutions project we're working on together. And what I shared with him were the following things. And I thought it would be necessary to share this with the group. And what I talked to him about was how to change his attitude, how to put himself in an environment and use tactics and strategies that would help him engage his business and his life. And also how to just change the overall narrative. You know, one of my business mentors years and years ago taught me that, look, the most important story you ever hear in life is the story you tell yourself about yourself, right? And one of the challenges that, we were having when I would chat with this young man is simply this. He'd wake up every single day when we talk, and he'd talk about how tired and fatigued he was. He would talk about how he felt like he had no time, how he was trapped and stressed out, and just couldn't see a way out of circumstances. And I noticed this was a reoccurring thing that came up time and time again. And so it didn't matter how effective the coaching was. It didn't matter how effective the strategies were. It didn't matter. None of those things mattered, because that narrative that was rolling around in his head, that soundtrack, was just blowing up everything, right? And one of the first things I would share with any entrepreneur is this. Once again, you got to guard the gates. And more importantly, you got to guard the gates sometimes from even your own language and what you're saying about yourself, right? You have to check yourself. If you're saying negative things about your life, you're right. If you're waking up every single day and saying, I'm tired, I'm stuck, my business sucks, my life sucks, I don't have the energy, I don't have the confidence, I don't have the passion, I don't have the motivation, then once again, you're going to be right. You are the first to hear your words before you speak them, right? And one of the first things I told him was like, man, you got to change the narrative. If you hear yourself saying that you're tired, if you hear yourself saying you're fatigued, you don't have any time, you got to stop that. The moment those words get ready to come out of your mouth, the moment you think them, you have to press pause. And look, whether it's affirmations, whether it's a dream board, whether you have to have a meditation conversation with yourself every single morning or during the day or in the evening, you need to speak success. You need to speak triumph. You need to speak prosperity into your life. That is so absolutely important. And it's something that many of us just, quite frankly, we overlook this, right? We want to jump right into the how-tos, but the how-tos don't matter if you have a negative narrative rolling around in your mind. And that's one of the first things I shared with them. I said, look, you have to get around people, and I'm going to come back to this. You have to talk to people. You have to chat with people. You have to engage with people who are speaking positively, people who believe in them, in their purpose, their mission, in themselves. People who believe in other people, people who talk about what's possible and what they're able to do, not what they're able to do. I shared with him 16 years ago before I started my journey in the business consulting industry, and how, I was working 70 plus hours a week. My daughter was falling asleep on the couch in my office. I was working from 5 o'clock to literally, 10 p.m. every single day. I mean, Sunday through Sunday. And one of the things that I knew early on was that I could not afford to spend time focused on the things that I felt like I could not do, or the things I felt like I did not have time to do, or focus on the things that maybe weren't within my reach. And one of the most valuable tools that I took advantage of was conference calls. Back then, we didn't have webcasts, right? We had these conference calls that were taking place. And I remember there was a conference call that took place, I believe, Sunday evenings, no different than today. There were conference calls that were taking place Tuesday evenings. And I didn't have time to attend meetings. I didn't have time to attend workshops. I didn't have the bandwidth to do those things. I was working my business in the financial service industry as an investment advisor, and that's how I was paying my bills. So I wasn't going to blow up that to do something else. But I realized early on I didn't need to get 100% better in one day. If I just got 1% better, if I improved by 1% every single day, or every single week, or every single month, right? Being 365% better at the end of the year would mean I'm much more effective at what it is I want to do. Being 52% better, right? Being 12% better would be a marked improvement. And so I focused on the things I could do. I focused on the conference calls, and I ate the fruit and spit out the seed. The things that I had the bandwidth, the ability to do, the things I was able to do, those things I applied. The things I weren't able to do, I just wasn't able to do it. But so often we spend time focused on what we don't have, the resources that aren't available, the connections that we do need. Look, that doesn't serve you. What can you do? What are you able to do? Even if it's 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes a day, right? If you spend 30 minutes, let's say, hypothetically, reading 10 pages of a good book a day, at the end of a month, that's about 300 pages. That's a book. If you read 12 to 15 books per year, because you're reading 30 pages a day, I don't care if it's about financial planning, leadership development, entrepreneurship, basket weaving. At the end of the year, you're going to be much more confident. You're going to be much more able. You're going to be much more competent and more comfortable going out and executing on the things that you need to do. But absent that mindset, it won't happen. Like, so many people want their lives and their businesses to improve overnight. It just doesn't work that way, right? Farmers don't wake up tomorrow after planting seeds today and say, where's my harvest? They know they have to till the field. They have to deal with the varmints and birds. They have to pull up the weeds, right? The negative thoughts in this example. They have to run off the haters, the birds and the varmints, right? They have to protect themselves from these things. They have to get up and do the work every single day. And eventually they know there will indeed be a harvest. And it's not much different in business and life. So that's one of the first things I told them. I said, man, you have to plant the right seeds first in yourself. Get around positive people. When I was coming up, because of the environment I grew up in, the neighborhood I grew up in, the type of people I had around me, it's not like I could turn to those people to get the things that I needed. So I found those people in books. I found those people, once again, in conference calls. I found those people in media and different things, right? And I would read the books, I would listen to the information, I would have conversations with them indirectly. You do what you have to do. You know, with our business, fortunately enough, we have conference calls. We have individuals who are willing to set aside the time and speak and breathe life into your dreams, ambitions, and goals. And that's one of the first things you have to do. You got to check your stinking thinking. Bad in, bad out. Good in, good out. So that's number one, right? Stop talking about the things you can't do. Stop thinking about the things that are like huge debts or deficits for you. Yes, you have to address them, but what about what you can do, right? Those things are so absolutely important. The other thing that I shared with him was this. I was like, look, you have to change your environment. And this kind of goes back to what I was hinting at before. It's not enough to speak well of yourself. It's not enough to have affirmations. It's not enough to review your goals. You have to put yourself in an environment. I sought out environments for people who were doing better than me. I sought out conversations with people who were doing better than me. Still to this day, a lot of the activities I'm involved in, whether it's luncheons or afternoon meetings, you know, people will show up and they'll look and they'll say, well, you don't have 100 people here. How is this successful? If I have 3 or 4 people in the room that are better than me at something, or more effective than me at something, that are speaking life into me and speaking life to themselves, that's victory, right? And I see if the environment doesn't exist around me, or maybe you think to yourself you don't have the budget to participate in certain things, there are plenty of opportunities where you can get in those spaces. Once again, with our business model, we're very fortunate, right? You have individuals who jump on conference calls almost daily, but definitely, we have our momentum calls that transpire Sunday. We have our training calls that transpire Wednesday. Make it your business to be on those calls. Make it your business to be in environments of people who are achieving things, achieving goals, making progress. Eat the fruit, spit out the seed. Take the notes as if it is you. You have to have a vision for yourself. I shared with one of the groups that I work with recently that, look, you have to have, the attitude comes for the altitude. You have to show up like a millionaire to become a millionaire. Think about it. If you were building a multi-million-dollar business, it was going to set you free, give you the time freedom that you wanted to spend time in church or in organizations or taking vacations or leisure activities, spending time with family. If you had a business that was functioning in that way, how would you show up? And I got to believe you show up early. You'd be attired a certain type of way. You'd conduct yourself a certain kind of way. Right? You'd have a totally different attitude, right? And some of you want the thing to happen absent the attitude. And that's just not a recipe for success. Hold on one second, I'm about to have a dad moment. Sorry about that, I had to have a dad moment. But in respect, you get what I'm saying here, right? You have to show up as that person. You have to show up as that vision. You have to show up with the belief and with the enthusiasm and with the energy in order for those things to transpire. The attitude comes before the altitude. Some of you want the altitude, but you showing up like spam. And people are watching you. Leadership's watching you. Your peers are watching you. The people that you want to partner with and work with are watching you. And if you're showing up half-assed, guess what you're going to get in response from the universe, right? And that's also something I share with him. You have to put yourself in these spaces. We're fortunate, I flew down to Dallas not too long ago, had an opportunity to hear from a gentleman who's had tremendous success. I think he's earned well in excess over the course of his entrepreneurial career, well over, and I might be lowballing. I know I'm lowballing if I say 10, 20 million. It's probably closer to like 30, 40, maybe even $60 million, right? We have leadership and people who show up on these conference calls who are crushing it. They're walking, breathing success stories. You know how much money it would cost typically to get into environments where people are crushing it like that? You know how much people are paying? I have a good friend of mine that paid over $30,000 for 3 hours with someone. And within our business, you can spend hours and hours and hours being tutored one-on-one, jumping on conference calls. If you're willing to fly or make a drive somewhere, it's like some of us, I don't know, we act like fat meat ain't greasy. Like we don't, it's like, because the resources and the people are so accessible, because the only thing that's being asked of you is to show up. You take it for granted. But if you wanted to have access to the uber majority of individuals who are leading these calls, who are involved in these activities, you'd pay tens of thousands of dollars. But the only cost is being asked you to show up, and then you say you don't show up. I was listening to the young man. It's not to pile on, but it's just to make the point. He was like, man, it's just so hard. I was like, no, hard is lifting bricks in 90-degree weather. Hard is working a job that you hate and can't stand, and you're getting up every single day, and you don't know whether or not tomorrow is going to be any different because the job is not growing you. It's not providing you the opportunities to level up and become the best person you can be and live a life of satisfaction. That's hard. Reading a book, showing up to a conference call, showing up to an event where you can observe, cheat, and steal, right? And when I mean cheat and steal, what I mean is look at the blueprint. Look how that person's moving, how they're speaking, how they conduct themselves. What type of questions are they asking, right? You're born with 2 ears and a mouth for a reason. I remember once I realized the caliber of leadership and the type of success that was transpiring with individuals whom I had a chance to have an audience with, I started becoming very quiet. And I was taking copious notes. I remember sometimes people would even like wonder, like, what's going on with him? He's so quiet. He's so serious. Yeah, I was serious as all get out about taking the notes. I observed everything, the language people use, the diction people use. I observed body language, how they attired themselves, all those different things. I also paid attention to things that they were not doing, not just things they were doing. And I was paying attention to the people who were there in that space with me. And I was paying attention to whether or not those people were growing or not. And if you weren't growing, I was like, okay, I'm not going to behave that way. I'm not going to conduct myself that way. Right? You know, they say time will either expose or promote you. I think it does both. It does both. And it will also grow you if you're doing the right thing. Snowflakes turn into snowballs. Once again, so often people just want things to happen right now. It doesn't work that way. It's the accumulative decisions that you make every single day, whether to invest in yourself or not, that ultimately determines whether or not you become the person, the snapshot that you aspire to be in the future. And you have to reverse engineer that and ask yourself, what would the future me that I desire to be do? And I got to believe it wouldn't be sit up and make excuses and then take advantage or take for granted the fact that you're surrounded by people who want to see you succeed and do well. And, you know, that's what I shared with them. That's what I shared with you. The other thing that I shared was like, look, some of you are waiting till you feel like it. When I feel like it, when I have the energy and motivation, I'll do these things. I shared how a couple days ago, I woke up at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd been up to like 12, 1 o'clock. You know, I was working on some projects, getting some personal affairs in order, getting prepared to deal with my children, father, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all that different stuff. And I'll admit, I had every excuse to stay in bed. I had every excuse. I didn't have any quote unquote hard time commitments on my calendar. I could have chillaxed. I could have chilled. What did I do instead? I got up, despite only having a handful of hours of sleep, and I went and ran 4 miles, did 50 push-ups, crunches, the whole 9 yards. And the reason why I did it is sometimes if you do the thing, you'll feel better about the thing, right? Once again, some of you are waiting to do things until you feel like it. But have you ever noticed that if you smile, all of a sudden you start feeling better, right? It's the same thing like going to the gym. You may not feel like going to the gym, but if you go to the gym consistently every single day or every other day, depending on your workout regimen, or at least 3 times a week, eventually, whether you like going to the gym or feel like going to the gym, sooner or later, you'll feel better. You'll feel better about what's transpiring, what's happening with you. You'll have more energy. You'll have more focused. You'll be more, you'll wake up with fire, right? Because all of a sudden you have this energy. You feel better physically. And then you start enjoying the gym. It's no different. You have to go out and invite people to learn about your business via exposures, whether you feel like it or not. But if you continue to do it, eventually you'll start enjoying it, because anything you do consistently, provided you're getting coaching and you're around the right people, you'll get better at. And we tend to like the things that we become better at. Same thing with learning how to give a presentation, learning how to ask for referrals, learning how to do any of these simple things that are required to be successful as an entrepreneur. Not just within our business, but period. Right? And that's what I shared with them. That's why I did it. After that workout, I had energy. I was on 10 for the next 3 hours. If I didn't do that workout, I probably wouldn't have been as effective. I probably wouldn't have accomplished as much as I did that morning. But because I did do the workout, because I did get out of bed and I did the thing so I'd have the power and that way I'd have the feeling, I had a phenomenal day. And, you know, I was straight up with them. I was like, dude, I'm 20 years your senior. For those of you who are listening to this, I'm probably, the majority of entrepreneurs I interact with, they don't even realize it sometimes. I'm 10, 20 years your senior. How is it that I have more energy with responsibilities of single father, building multiple entrepreneur endeavors, not to mention all the other stuff I have going on? How is it I wake up on 10, like ready to go? I'm serious. I'm in flow. How is that happening? Well, it's because I do work out. It's because I do the work. It's because I do manage my diet pretty good for the most part. For the most part, right? And because I do these things, I have the power. Literally, I have power, right? And so you have to do these things. Whether it's, and it doesn't require, look, if you're working a job, going to school, you're working a job, going to school, and you're a parent, it does not require that you become a multimillionaire overnight. A couple simple habits every single day will make a huge difference over a 3-month, 6-month, year period of time. Reading 10 pages of a good book a day, or listening to a podcast, listening to something that will build your skill, knowledge, talent, and experience stacks. Like doing those a little bit every single day will make a huge difference. Doing the activity so you get better at it. You're going to suck in the beginning. It's okay. Be willing to suck. You'll get better if you keep doing it and you receive proper coaching and you copy the right cats, right? Putting yourself in environments where people don't tolerate negative speak and they don't tolerate excuses and they don't tolerate BS.com, right? Sooner or later, your language is going to have to change because you're not going to be able to operate in those spaces. They're either going to say peace and go on about their business, or they're going to rock with you and allow them to be around and allow you to be around them and vice versa, because you're starting to move and behave and think and speak the way they think, right? And so if you really want to change your life for the better, if you want to change your business for the better, if you want to adopt a better attitude, look, changing your mindset is not a noun. It's not a thought. It's a verb. Personal development, professional development is a verb. Success is not a moment in time. It's a verb. And look, the rent is due every single day. You have to be paying the price every single day. But I'll tell you, as I've heard a couple mentors say to me time and time again, the juice is worth the squeeze. The juice is worth the squeeze. It's going to be not hard, but maybe a little bit inconvenient. You're going to have to say no to some things. You're going to have to cut some things out. You're going to have to sacrifice a little bit so later on you can have a lot. And that's really the bottom line. And that's what I shared with them. I said, look, once again, recap. Stop the negative thinking and negative self-talk. Stop it immediately. The moment you start talking negatively about what you can't do, it's done. It's a wrap. You're already defeated. You will not win. That supercomputer behind your eyes and in between your ears, look, that thing operates on what you feed it. If you tell it repeatedly over and over again, I'm going to be successful, I will go undefeated, I will do what's necessary, I will become, whatever you focus on is like the sun. Whatever the sun focuses on typically grows. What the sun neglects dies. It's the same thing. You got to focus your mind and your energies and your efforts and your thoughts on the things that will grow you and take you to the destination that you're taking aim at. And you need to find that destination. That's a training for another time. That's a talk another time, but you get the point, right? Once again, you got to put yourself in environment success. You got to get around people, you know, and once again, you know who I'm talking to. If we're working together and you're neglecting to show up to events where people who are winning are showing up, it's free, practically. Right? If you're neglecting conference calls, you feel like I don't feel like it. What do you mean you don't feel like it? How often do you have a chance to interact and talk to multimillionaires on a daily basis? People are crushing it, achieving, triumphing in their life personally and spiritually and materially and physically and otherwise. You know how much money it costs to get into spaces like that? It's like, are you kidding me? Right? Get in those spaces. Let that rub off on you. Hang around 6 cursing cousins, you become a 7. You hang around 6 people are leveling up, eventually it will rub off on you if you are paying attention and taking notes. Okay? And then lastly, do the thing and you will have the power. Don't wait till you feel like it. Do the thing and you will feel like it. Smile. Give yourself the opportunity to laugh. Give yourself, do things that make you feel, that will result in you feeling good, and you will feel good. Right? Do the thing. Have the power. Get better at it. Be willing to improve. Be willing to suck. It's okay. Right? There's nothing that you are highly effective at today that you didn't have to spend some time. Even people with talent have to spend time cultivating that talent. They have to spend time curating that talent. They'll spend time whittling that talent to shape it into the thing that they really desire for themselves. It's no different here. And so that's the talk I had with the young man. Hopefully it serves him. Hopefully it serves you. Those of you who work with me, you know what I'm talking about. I hope it serves you and you paid close attention to what was being shared. As always, I celebrate your success. In advance, goodbye for now.